Councillor Condacor, do you wish to speak as a non-cabinet member?
Of course I do, Chair. Just a couple of things. In this report on page 69, it talks about the £440,000 deficit on parking. This is a long-standing issue, and I keep asking, can we do more for the car parks that are being used for displacements from Abbey Street, like Victoria Street, to try and improve the environment around there and get signage and lighting improved and some of the bushes cut back? Because I think some of this deficit we have on parking is partly down to us losing possible trade. And secondly, there's the issue of all the buildings we're demolishing and all this transforming in Eton, which is having a massive effect on footfall as we're getting less businesses in the town. The second point I wanted to raise is the building back better, as you call it, which I call destroying things, demolishing things, delivery plan. We are now abandoning our 10%/20% vehicle fleet electric target. Clearly, on page 78, we had a very weak target that when we replaced vehicles, they were going to have 10% in the housing and 20% in the general stock as electric. We are now abandoning that and consigning this council to diesel for the next decade, probably. And finally, there's lots of stuff about the project's progress, like Bridge to Living, which you have got a funding gap on. Can we please get some discussion of how we scale back some of these vanity projects, which are effectively demolishing businesses, to make them slightly smaller? And it mentions the flood alleviation scheme in the same bit. Surely a Bridge to Living scheme could be scaled back, give more room for the river to expand, and actually take less businesses out of use. And finally on that, the DWP, Department of Work and Pensions, we still need clarity on whether they're actually willing to give up the site for our Bridge to Living scheme. And we just don't have any dialogue on that in this report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Condacor. We've heard this time and time again, but I still remain disappointed that there is a lack of ambition for the regeneration of Nuneaton Town Centre, and indeed Bedworth Town Centre, come to think of that in some respects. Councillor Condacor has had a number of these answers, but in direct answer to the vehicle fleet, that is subject to a report on pink paper later. But what I would say is this: we have a duty to ensure that when we spend public money, it is spent wisely and efficiently and effectively. At the moment, if we were to go all electric or even partially electric, the infrastructure and the technology simply isn't there to justify it at this moment in time. What we have to do is ensure service delivery. That means, no, you've had your say, Councillor Condacor, that means that for the time being, diesel is the most effective method for this council's operations, given the amount of usage that our vehicles use. And if you look at our refuse lorries, for example, I think you told me once they're like 3 miles per gallon, 4 miles per gallon. That would require a tremendous amount of electricity and recharging, and we would need additional capacity to deal with the recharging, which we simply can't afford. If we've got a vehicle off the road, we need to backfill it with something to keep service delivery going. That would incur more money that Councillor Croft has already said we don't have. So I think we are being responsible, we are being prudent, and we are maintaining the most efficient and effective service that we can. So I'm happy with where we're going on that front, because residents want their bins emptied. They don't want us indulging in some kind of ideological fantasy. No, Councillor Condacor, you specifically mentioned we'd abandoned or alleged that we had abandoned the diesel target. I have given you a perfectly reasonable and rational explanation as to why at this moment in time that simply isn't possible. So we have the recommendations